Thursday, February 14th, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to go over a little bit the bank that runs the world, the bank that is in charge, hiding in the shadows, very low key, but hardly anyone talks about it. Seymour as a regulator. Of course, that's the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland. It's physically in Switzerland, but it's actually a sovereign entity, just like the Vatican, just like Washington, D.C., or the Corporation of the City of London. And I'll look into a great book that I have recommended many times in the past, The Tower of Basel by Adam Libor. So, yeah, I think it's very important that people are educated on what this bank does, or else very little will change. This bank is the head of the snake for the central banking system. Before that, we'll look at what the markets are doing this morning. It's 10 to 8 a.m. London time. Yesterday, another interesting day. Stock markets remain fairly firm. Gold and silver were doing very well early on. As usual, they got clobbered lower. Late in the day, even. It was after the regular hour close on COMEX. To understand COMEX, it opens at, the gold contract opens at 8:20 a.m. New York, and the regular hour trading closes at 1:30 p.m. So before and after the regular hours, the market becomes very illiquid and very quiet. After 1:30 p.m. New York, most of Europe is away, so that's the best time for them to go and attack the paper market. And that's what they did yesterday. Technically, though, I think the precious metals still look pretty good. The trend's still higher. What we're seeing is like little steps up, on the way up. We're right now on a step, on a consolidation, in my opinion. But as I said, physical gold and silver, you have to look at it in terms of grams or ounces, and you need to look at it in terms of insurance against monetary mayhem. You need to try to get out of, if you can, out of your spare fiat money as much as possible, and do it on a dollar cost average basis as best you can. If you're in the UK and you're looking to get into physical gold and silver, you can go to goldinvestments.co.uk. I've got a promo code that will give you a 0.5% discount when you buy gold and silver with them. The promo code is maneco64. So the markets now. The price of gold right now is $1308.80. So up $2.65. The range overnight has been $1304.87 and $1309.60. So quite a narrow range there between basically 05 and 10. Silver is up 10 cents, 15.66. Range has been 15.53 to 15.69. The Dow is up 31 points. The Dow future at 25,568. The S&P 500 is up 6, or just under 0.25%. And the NASDAQ 100 future is up 0.33% at 7,036. The dollar remains quite firm against the euro and the Japanese yen especially. The pound fairly steady. It's at 128.60, up 0.1%. Euros at 112.82, up 0.2. But we failed to stay above 113 yesterday. The euro got hit quite hard. And the dollar now is up above 111 against the yen, 111.05. And the dollar is down 0.12%, or 0.15, sorry, of a percent against the yuan, Chinese yuan, at 677. Crude oil continuing higher, up 1%. WTI 54.75. WTI crude. The bond market 10-year yield, has crept up in the last few days. It's at 2.7%. The 1 to 5 yield spread is now, has been narrowing quite a bit. It's been disinverting or steepening. It's now 3 basis points, 255 versus 252. One interesting story I saw about the economy in general in the US yesterday was on Zero Hedge, and it says, recession alert, Treasury receipts turn negative for the first time since the Trump election. So as you can see here, it's federal government receipts on a 12-month rolling basis at the end of the year. And they note how every time this happens, when it goes negative year on year, that we are in a recession. Of course, it happened just when Trump was elected in 2016, and we didn't have a recession. So it's not guaranteed, but it's not a great sign. Just wanted to show you guys that. So the bank that runs the world, isn't that a little bit of an exaggeration? I don't think so. I mean, you really need to read this book if you want to find out about it. Why do I say, that this bank runs the world? Well, here, this is from page 43, and I'll read from the book. The conception seems to have formed in the popular mind that the Bank for International Settlements, which began at Basel, Switzerland, May 20th, 1930, was organized merely to handle German reparation payments and the so-called inter-allied debt that its principal operations are concerned with, the German debt payments. This is a mistaken, although understandable view. You see, the globalists and the bankers, they always, they're very good at PR, at deceiving people. So that's why you need to really, not take their statements at face value. You have to look under the surface. It says, although the prime reason for the bank's creation was to administer the monthly sums paid into it by Germany, this duty has already become the smaller side of the bank's activities. The handling of the German reparations payment is a routine operation which any trust company could carry on. Within 6 months after opening for business, the bank has developed much larger and more important activities and has become a medium of service, which is one of the saving features in a tense world situation. This is the important part here. The bank is completely removed from any governmental or political control. No person may be a director who is also a government official. The bank is absolutely non-political and is organized and operated on a basis purely commercial and financial, like any properly managed banking institution. Governments have no connection with it, nor with its administration. There you go. We're not run democratically. Is that a problem? Well, it is, because we are told in the West that we are a democracy, that we elect our officials, that we're in charge of our own destiny. But as Mayor Amschel Rothschild said, he who controls the money, can control, doesn't care who makes the laws. And that's the bank that controls the money throughout the world. And why do I say that? Well, because it's the OPEC of central banks. It's the original OPEC or cartel. It is in Switzerland physically, but technically it's a sovereign entity. The central bankers, be it from the ECB, Bank of England, or Fed, they go there once every 2 months. They meet once every 2 months. When they travel on BIS business, they carry a BIS passport, so they're not stopped in at customs or anything. They've got diplomatic immunity. The BIS cannot be investigated by any institution out, from any government anywhere in the world. So it's basically above the law, uh, which is quite amazing. And here's another interesting part, because the BIS basically is the enemy of the general public. It's an oligarchy, financial oligarchy that runs the world, uh, and it talks about, the book talks about how gold is in their DNA. So, a lot of times, if you want to fight your enemy, you need to know your enemy. You need to do what they're doing to protect yourself. It doesn't mean to say we're going to be deceptive like them, but I'll quote here from page 42. And this is from a book by Toniolo. And I quote, the gold standard was embedded in the very DNA of the BIS. The bank kept its accounts in Swiss gold francs, which with each franc worth 0.29 grams of fine gold. But the central banks were losing their enthusiasm for gold. Even Britain had gone off the gold standard. By the end of 1932, only 7 of the 46 countries that had been on the gold standard remained, including France, Italy, and the United States, which left the following year. With no more reparations and the collapse of the gold standard, why did the BIS stay in business? In part, as others who wished to dissolve the bank would find in later years, because it was founded under an international treaty and its statutes were essentially immutable. Schardt and Norman. So Schardt was Hitler's banker a few years later. Hjalmar Schardt, Reichsbank president, and Norman Montague. Montague Norman was the governor of the Bank of England. So those guys had designed their bank superbly. So it was designed by a Nazi and a Bank of England guy. It was not possible to close the BIS. In fact, the end of reparations and the collapse of the gold standard proved a boon for the BIS. It allowed the banks to focus on its founders' intentions to build a new transnational financial system of large capital movements free from political or governmental control. Gates Magara, the bank's first president, I think he was J.P. Morgan, he was an American banker, had explained as much soon after the bank was founded. Writing in Nation's Business magazine, Magara admitted that the German reparation payment were a routine operation which any trust company could administer. So, is it impossible to close down this bank? No, but it's going to be very difficult. It's going to take an international treaty to get rid of it. So, and unfortunately, these bankers are in charge of all the governments in the world. So they're not going to be rushing anytime soon to try to dissolve or abolish this bank. It needs to come from educating the public, so the public is aware that this bank is there. This bank is now seen as a bank that's socially responsible, that's a regulator, but it's far away from that. This is what Adam Libor talks about here at the end of the book. That the bank is trying to market itself as a regulator, an institution that is more like a think tank and not a bank, because we know how people are waking up to the power of the bankers. So there you go. Highly recommend the book, The Tower of Basel by Adam Libor. And make sure you share this video far and wide. Wake people up about this. It's only through educating people that things could change. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Make sure you hit the notification bell. You can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.